Super excited to be chatting to Slungelo today. Slungelo is a technical account manager here at AWS. We're going to hear a lot more from Slungelo about what she does and how she actually got to be here. Hi, Slungelo.
Hi, Velisa. Thank you for having me. Really excited about this session.
So, you are a technical account manager. I've always been curious to know what technical account managers do. But before we get there, take us back to how you actually got to be in your role.
Yeah, okay. Going back to varsity, I actually studied computer science and information system. So I went to UKZN. That's where I completed my bachelor's degree. I then got an opportunity to join AWS as a cloud support graduate in the databases team. So I joined end of 2017 as a grad. And then that's where I started my journey at AWS, which has been 5 years. But just to take you through the steps that I've been through, I joined as a grad. And then after the grad program, I moved to being a cloud support engineer for the databases team. I spent about 2 years in that role where I was learning about databases, different engines that we provide. And then I decided to learn something new because AWS is very broad and you can't work on everything at the same time. But just to
Yes.
give myself that opportunity of learning something new, I decided to change my role. So I was still a cloud support engineer, but I just changed the services that I was working with. So that's when I joined the deployment profile, where I worked with the continuous integration and continuous deployment services, such as CloudFormation, Elastic Beanstalk, Code Build, CDK, and so on. So that journey has been really fun. I enjoyed it. I worked with a lot of technologies, learned a lot. AWS is always day one, so we're always
Mhm.
learning. And then after a year of being in the deployment team, because I wanted to progress my career into the career path or direction that I would like to go to, which is being more involved with customers and being in a position where I can interact with different technologies and being able to build solutions for customers. I then decided to try a different role, which was the technical account manager role. And that's where I am currently at right now. Yeah. So that is my journey in a nutshell.
And you've been in this role for how long as a temp?
It's been 1 year actually. I just finished a year, starting in March. So I joined last year, end of
Okay.
February 2022.
Temp, what's a typical day like for a temp?
Very busy. I would say there is two parts to being a TAM, a technical account manager. So the first one is customer obsession. So we really work closely with our customers because you really have to know them. You need to understand what they use the AWS cloud for. It could be for security, it could be for revenue, or even production line, to understand what they need from AWS and how can you assist them to make their journey easy. And then there's a second part, which is the technical part, to being a technical account manager. So that's really understanding what technologies your customer is using, and having that understanding of the technical part or the technical services that they use, so that you can have technical discussion or strategic discussions with the customer, just to build this, to help them build solutions or come up with products that will be
Okay.
used in their company and be impactful. So in a typical day, I would say that we have a lot of customer meetings,
Mhm.
where we engage with the customer on it can be a weekly or monthly, depending on how many customers you have. But basically, you need to prepare for the meeting. So that's the first thing that I do every time when I get up in the morning and I start my day. I just prep for my meetings, just to make sure that I have all the details that I need. I'm prepared to have any questions or any discussions that the customers might have. For
Mhm.
example, today I have a session with one of my customers where we're going to be discussing cost optimizing topics. So they
Mhm.
have been migrating from their on premises environment to AWS Cloud, and they really want to understand how they can control their their costs and how they can optimize. So they want to understand the toolings available that they can use. So I'll be leading that conversation and just trying to help them where they can save some costs and what they can use just in the long term, not just being dependent on AWS, but also we need to give them some toolings which they can use. And then another thing is that as part of that, we work, as part of assisting the customers, we work with a lot of teams internally. So just to make sure that we are providing the customer with everything they need. So it goes back to being customer obsessed. We do engage with a lot of other teams. So the customer could be requesting for a feature request. They could be requesting for a solution. And so in those cases, you really need to engage with the service team, the product team, support engineers, and solutions architect who will be able to give advice on the customer's architecture and just be able to push the solution or the product forward.
Okay. Now let me
Yes.
ask, I know Amazon has the culture of writing. So your interactions with the other teams is always a document that you write, and that's how you share the information with the other teams?
I would say as a TAM, we do write some solutions that you can share with other teams, but also it is very important that we share the information through training as well. So we
Okay.
do hold some sessions, especially for the TAMs, because we work with a lot of technologies. So you get involved
Okay.
with because the customers that we deal with, they have they from different ranges. We deal with enterprise customers to customers who would call them call themselves as startups. So they use different
Okay.
technologies. You need to be able to have technical conversations depending on
Okay.
what the customer is using. So training
Okay.
is very important and just sharing information across the team.
Okay, great. Now, my last question to you. Someone listening is thinking, I too want to be a TEM.
I would say even if you don't have specifically AWS cloud background, there is so many opportunities that you are given to upskill yourself and learn new services while you're on the job. So there is so much support. They provide you with mentorship, provide you with resources to study, and so on.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Sulungelo, for making the time to talk, to have this chat with me today. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and all the information that I got from you has really been great. I am going to share your social media information if you have it. Are you on LinkedIn at all?
Yes, I am. I will share
Okay.
the handle with you so that you can have it. Thank you so
Uh,
much.
Thank you
Yeah.
again for making the time.
Hey, Velaswa, thanks for having me. Really glad to be here.
Can you give us a very quick story about how you actually got into tech and how you ended up in your role?
I'm trying to think now because it's a very long story that probably started from high school. You know, those tiny nudges here and there from teachers and people around you. But the abridged version is
Yes.
I had an internship back in university. So, by the way, I'm from Nigeria. I'm based in
Right.
Cape Town, but
Mm-hmm.
from Lagos, Nigeria. And back in uni, I had an internship with actually a South African tech company called Business Connection.
Oh.
Yeah, they're quite big now, and that was sort of my foray into tech. And after university, I was very, very lucky to join a super small company that was, very small boutique IT consulting firm. There was just like 3 of us in the company, including the CEO back then. So, then I was doing a lot of everything. So from deploying routers and switches and wireless networks to doing Office 365 deployments for customers. Then luckily I got an opportunity to join a graduate program at Cisco Systems in the Netherlands. So joined Cisco, very networking heavy experience that I got with them. Was there for 4 years. And I got, not just experience from customers all around the world. I was lucky to work with customers from Australia all the way to the US and the Middle East. But I then got the opportunity to go back to Nigeria and work very, very deeply with large enterprise customers. So lots of customers in banking and finance within West Africa. So traveled a lot, between Lagos and Accra, Ghana. And then, somehow found my way to AWS. The early signal for me, I remember then, was the customers I was speaking to, they were constantly asking me cloud-related questions, right? I'd go in there, coming to speak to them about networking. And I remember this one question I got from a CIO of a bank. This question was, would this networking solution help me transfer X petabytes of data to the cloud? And the signal that gave for me was, this was not just a toy anymore, right? The whole cloud thing, it was serious value that it was, that customers were getting out of it. So that was my signal to just jump in and go get certified, and then found my way to AWS and the TAM role.
Oh, how long have you been in this role?
So I've been at AWS for 4 years. I'd say 4 years and a few months now. The whole time been in the TAM role, but luckily I've gotten the ability to be on many different customers, different markets also. So I've worked for customers in South Africa, customers in Germany, and now I'm on an American customer. So, and each of those customers, you get to do many things, many interesting things. So it sort of feels like a new job every day or every week.
Yes. So I'm curious to see just a few. What are some of these things that you get to do for these customers? Just a few that you can just drop and just let us know about.
Yeah. So the way I like to describe my role to both to customers and to people in general is that, technical account managers, or for short, you keep hearing me say TAMs. That's the short version of the role. We sort of work two ways. On one side, we're helping customers meet whatever business and technical goals they have on AWS. That would also include things like, ensuring that things don't go wrong, right? That whatever systems or applications that they're building on the cloud runs well, and well means, is cost optimized, is performant, is secure. So, that's stuff that we do before something goes wrong. And when something does go wrong, when the Vogels, always says that, everything fails all the time, right?
Yes.
We're there to help them in those tough moments, helping them with incidents, small and large incidents, helping them, drive towards recovery, helping them through, that troubleshooting process with the partnership with the support engineers that actually do the troubleshooting, helping them, find tactics to recover whatever system is broken, or, whatever workload is broken. And then afterwards, we show technical leadership by, doing postmortems with them, not for them, but in partnership with them. And then, building strategies to prevent that kind of failure from happening again, right? So it's a high level description of the role, right? It's a bit generic, but I can go into specifics if you want, like examples.
That's fine. So you've mentioned that you do collaborate with the support team for remediations for some of the issues that customers might experience. What other roles within AWS do you work very closely with?
Yeah. So as a TAM, you're working, within an account team. So your primary team is actually other TAMs, within your reporting structure, account managers, solutions architects, people in professional services. Those are your primary teammates, and you're all working towards that goal that your customer has. So that's primary. And then I'd say a bit outside that ring is, support engineers that you work with on incidents, specialists in many different areas. So we have specialists, for example, in storage, security, analytics, and directly with the service teams, the people that build these services. We work with them quite often to improve how our services work, because the kinds of customers we work with are large customers that are often pushing the barriers of how our services work.
Okay. So what are you seeing as the trends with these large customers? What are you seeing as what customers are liking to build these days in the cloud?
Yeah. So my specific space that I work in is ISV, so independent software vendors. So these are customers whose products is just software, right, that they sell to other customers, some B2B, some B2C. And you can sort of think of them as your typical SaaS software that they're building. So a lot of the things that I'm seeing is around modernizing these applications. So a lot of customers are building serverless applications, container-based applications, lots of container-based projects that we have these days. A lot of them are thinking about how to scale their software to a broader customer base, right? For example, AWS has regions in almost every continent. Actually, I think every continent, right? Yeah. So if you're an ISV thinking about scaling your product to customers everywhere, AWS is the right platform to do that. So helping them build the right technical architecture that can help them scale to the world, considering the compliance requirements of whatever countries that they're trying to get into. So some of those countries have like local data residency requirements. So we use things like local regions in those countries, local zones as well. So yeah.
Okay. So what would you say to someone who thinks, I too want to be a TAM at AWS? So where would be the best place to start for them?
I'll say, the roles for our team, we're constantly hiring, and we have roles on the public job board. I'd say apply, right? Reach out to people that you see on LinkedIn that are currently in those roles to learn about the role. I think a question I get often from candidates is if they need to be AWS certified before, moving to the TAM role or before applying to the TAM role. I just so happened to be AWS certified. I had the Solutions Architect Associate certification before I joined, but that was because of my own personal interests. But we don't look for people that we don't specifically require people that are certified in AWS, but of course we require knowledge of IT domains and tech domains. So whatever your background is in tech, you could come from a DevOps background, a networking background, security, storage, sysadmin background, whatever it may be. There's a role probably for you waiting in the TAM organization. So what I would say is, start looking at the roles, look at the teams that are hiring, and reach out, apply, and start learning the cloud. It doesn't hurt to also learn AWS or cloud services along the way.
Great. So in closing, anyone wants to connect with you, are you on social media? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on LinkedIn and Twitter, but I try to keep my LinkedIn inbox clean. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can search for me, Temitope Oyenuga, and reach out, and I'm happy to chat.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you very much for chatting with us. This was just so enlightening. Really great to hear from you and to hear about this role, and for me to get to chat with you, because I don't think this is actually very long overdue. I don't think I've actually really got to sit with you and have a chat. So this was really awesome. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Velusva. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really happy to be here.